So I'm here with Mary Noguchi, who is, I don't know whether to say a new friend or an old friend of mine. I've known her for a very long time, but I've really just got to know you over the past few weeks, right?
That's right.
Yeah. I've known you over the years, and I've known you, of course, for your column, The Kanji Clinic. And I guess when I get an idea of somebody who likes to study kanji, I immediately think, oh, that person is nothing like me. Because I have to tell you, I have never been one to study kanji. In fact,
you just haven't discovered the joy of it yet.
No, that's right. I really haven't discovered the joy of it. I'll tell you a little story. I was hypnotized for my kanji test that I did in university because I was having so much trouble studying kanji that I actually felt physically ill studying kanji.
Oh, wow.
So I went to a hypnotist to be able to study the kanji for my test, and I got quite a good result on that test.
But wonderful.
I'm the kind of person who, takes really extreme measures to do the stuff that I have to do around kanji. But I guess recently, you may have seen from my blog that, I've really been discovering the joy of kanji, and I wanted to ask you how you discovered it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know where to start exactly. It's sort of a long story. I came to Japan in 1983, and I had had 1 year of Japanese language instruction in the classroom. And, I could hardly say konnichiwa. I was very ill-prepared, but at least I had invested some time in it, so that motivated me to keep on studying. And I was single at the time, and so I got very excited about learning the language. And so I worked really hard on the spoken language.
Right.
I had been introduced to kanji in the class I took before I came to Japan, but it was taught in the traditional, boring way.
Right.
Here it is, write it 15 times, or if you can't remember it, after 15 times, write it 30 times, and we'll have a test next week.
That's exactly the way it was for me. Yeah.
So that just didn't work for me at all, and
Right.
I got really turned off from kanji. And so I focused on the spoken language. And then after living in Hiroshima for 3 years, I went back to my home state, and I had an opportunity to teach Japanese. And the woman who hired me to teach at university knew that I did not read kanji or write kanji. But she hired me to teach conversation. And so that was good. I didn't have to hide my horrible secret, that I was illiterate in Japanese, even though I could speak pretty well. I was illiterate.
Right.
And so then I met my husband there at the university in my home state. We married and came back to Japan. And it looked like I was going to be here for quite a while. And so I thought, well, I don't really want to be illiterate here. I want to be a grown-up in this country that I'm back to for the second time. So I went to the bookstore, and I thought, there's got to be something. There's got to be some interesting way to learn kanji. So I went to the bookstore, and I'll never forget it. It was at Maruzen, and I picked up this book. It had this fabulous title, Remembering the Kanji 1. I thought, wow, that looks sort of simple, pure,
Right.
Honest. So I opened it up, and I started reading the introduction. And the book is by a professor in the religion department at Nanzan University here in Nagoya. His name is James Heisig. And we've since become friends. And but when I stood there and read his introduction, I just couldn't put it down, and I thought, wow, this is it. this is what I've been looking for.
Right.
And this is a way to make kanji learning fun. So I purchased the book, and I started working with it, and I really believed in it. I believed in the system, and it was fun. I looked forward to coming home every day and picking up the book. And after maybe 6 months, I finished the book, and I passed the second level of the Japanese proficiency exam. And then I started just reading, mostly things with hiragana, the hiragana written above to tell me the readings. And after one more year of doing that, I was able to pass the first level of the proficiency exam. So then I thought, wow, gosh, year and a half, I don't have any special talent with kanji or learning languages. If I could do it, maybe other people would really, like this system too, or find some success with this system. Right. So I started going around and giving little talks about it, trying to promote the method. And people always ask me, well, do you get a cut of all the books that you sell from your workshops? And no, I don't get any money. I just do it because I believe so strongly in the system. And then I had this dream of writing a newspaper column, not only to talk about the Heisig method, but to talk about lots of other issues surrounding kanji learning and just kanji itself. Right. And so I asked the Japan Times if they'd be interested in me writing a column, and they looked at some samples and said yes, and that was 2001. So I've been writing the column now for 6 years, and I set up a website to archive all the columns so they don't just get tossed in the trash can. Right. And I've gotten a lot of positive feedback. The site gets about 15,000 visitors a year. A month. A month. Right. About 450 visitors a day. And so it's very rewarding. And the people who read it online are the ones who keep me motivated to write it and come up with an idea. And I have a column due in 2 weeks, and I don't have an idea yet, but I know that when I sit down at the computer, something will come to me. It always does.
I know that feeling well. Yeah, I know that feeling well. Yeah.
So, long story.
Yeah, well, I really like the way that your website is laid out, because in a way, you can go through and choose something that's interesting to you on that day. When I went to it, the day that I went to it, I went straight to the archives, and I saw something on love and romance, and I thought,
for Valentine's Day.
For Valentine's Day, that's right, yeah. And I like the way that you give things a context like that. Just by writing the column on a particular topic, you're giving stuff a context. And by reading that column, I was able to, sort of get a word for myself. I love it when I get a word, a new word, not necessarily a kanji word, but I just learn a new word in Japanese, and it's always because I can put it in context. So, I'm ready to believe in the Heisig system too, although I haven't started studying it yet. Right. But what I wanted to ask is, did you find that as you were studying it, you were making up your own little stories, or were you sticking with his stories? Or
well, he gives his own stories for the first 500, and I used his stories for the first 500. And then for the remaining 1,500, you have to think of your own stories. Right. So I enjoyed making my stories very much, and I think if you don't enjoy that, then you just get frustrated with it. But I had a lot of free time, and I just enjoyed going back through my past experiences, a lot of stories based around things that happened to me in my childhood, and some really wild, wacky stories, some that would be rated R or X, just
Yeah.
just had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah.
And
so here's a good question for you then. When you come across a kanji that is related to a rated R or X story,
yes.
does that story still pop into your brain?
Yes, sometimes. Although what happens with the high sig method is the stories are in a way, just a tool to really befriend the kanji. And once you have become good friends with that kanji, then you can forget the story.
Right.
And you do forget the stories,
right.
And there's no need to remember them just for the sake of remembering them. If you know the kanji, then you don't really need the story anymore. So I couldn't say that I remember 2,000 stories, but sometimes they do pop into my mind. Yeah.
And I love that phrase that you use, befriending the kanji and becoming friends with the kanji.
Oh, yeah.
That phrase right there just makes it so more attractive to me. I want to be friends with the kanji. I don't want to hate them.
Right.
I want to be friends with the kanji. But what does that mean to you, being friends with the kanji?
Oh, well, you become intimate with them because you have to break each one of them down into its component parts. You never look at a kanji as a whole piece. So if you see a new one, you have to break it down and figure out what comprises it. And then since you know the names for all the components, often but not always, you can figure out what the original kanji creators had in mind,
right,
when they built this kanji. I mean, there's a reason why every kanji is constructed the way it is. Some of the kanji have changed over the centuries, and so the reasons for why they were originally written a certain way have become murky.
Right.
You can't always depend on what the kanji creators had in mind.
Right.
But sometimes you can.
Right.
And those are really fun.
Right.
But
I was reading the Heisig book this morning, actually, and I came across akarui.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and I really liked the way of remembering akarui. It's a sun, it's a moon, it's akarui, right?
Yes, right. Well, that's a very logical one.
Yeah.
Sometimes the logical ones are the ones that are the easiest to forget.
Right, yeah.
So sometimes the wilder the story, the easier they are to remember.
Do you remember the story for Hakase?
Hakase. I don't remember my story. I remember there's a drop of something at the top from the needle on the left.
Right,
I remember that.
Yeah.
I can write it, but I don't remember the story. There's a good example of one that
yeah.
Tell me the story.
Well, I don't remember it either, but it's a story that I heard when my nephew was using the Heisig method to study his kanji.
Okay.
And at the time, it really did plant that kanji in my mind, and it was during the banpaku. So
right.
Of course
you needed it.
I needed it at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in a way, I was kind of a Heisig by osmosis subject. I just learned that one kanji at the time, and I've never forgotten that one kanji, right?
Right.
Not that you need to have hakase in your life every day, but
during the banpaku you did.
Yeah, sure.
Especially you, since you were going so often.
I did.
But now I can't remember, is Hakase, is that one that Heisig gives the story, or is it one you have to make up yourself?
He gives it. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's about a specialist and a needle, and
right, the needle's the
he's
left.
got 10. Yeah, the needle is the left, and
10 fields.
Yeah. Yeah.
10 fields stuck together, I think it is.
Yeah, something like that.
The bottom is glue, I believe.
That's okay. All right. I'm really going to have to go and look this up now.
And then there's a dot at the top.
Yeah. But at the time, I thought, what a ridiculous story. But here I am knowing the kanji. Yeah, I don't know the story anymore, but I do know the kanji. So that's...
There you go.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. So would you say I'm friends with that kanji?
I would say you definitely befriended that kanji.
I befriended the kanji, but I haven't sent them any emails in a long time. He's my forgotten friend, but I still know him. So
well, that's good.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Then you'll never forget him.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's, you don't really need to remember the stories once you know the kanji and you're friends with it.
Yeah. Now, I mean, that brings me to just my whole point for wanting to talk to you today, is that I have been working from within my frame of thinking, and I have this really strong way of thinking that kanji is not fun. Okay, it's not
too bad.
It's too difficult. You know, I was raised with the same methods of learning kanji as perhaps you were. You know, if you don't know it after 15 times, then write it 30 times.
Right.
Good luck in the test next week.
Yeah.
Hypnotize yourself if necessary, because, you know,
but then
nothing is going to get through.
Even if you make 100 on the test, you will have forgotten
That's right. And I have the ikkyu as well.
Yeah.
But I am embarrassed. It is my shameful secret that whenever I write a letter to someone, I have to concentrate so hard. And I also have to have a dictionary or a mobile phone or something where I can hit the henkan key and find out what the kanji is that I need. And it is my shameful secret. So I'm going to try and be like good friends with the kanji. But for me, being friends with the kanji involves thinking outside of the box and, you know, like breaking down that wall that I have.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah. So you've come into my life at a good time.
Okay, good. That's great. Well, so you already have the Heisig book.
Yeah, I've borrowed it. Yeah. But
well, there are other methods that use that take a similar approach.
Right.
The component analysis approach, and those are all sort of reviewed on my website. So,
right.
If you don't like the Heisig approach, you can check out some other component analysis approaches.
Right. Yeah. Thanks for talking with me today. Yeah, I'm hoping to be friends with the kanji, and
good.
Yeah.
You might even fall in love with the kanji.
Fall in love with the kanji.
Yes. You know, first you're friends, first you're friends, and then you fall in love.